everything right, it was you and me.
This is not good. Every day I try to make myself like coffee. I mean, listen, I think that is just the higher being, the universe, whoever, God, trying to tell me I don't need all of these like things in my life. Alcohol, coffee, I don't need these things. I'm amazing as I am. But guess what? I need it for today's video because we are talking about my favorite books of each and every single month thus far in 2023. I cannot believe that it's August. I'm filming this currently in August. When will it go up? Who knows? You might be seeing this video in October. I don't know. Just based on like my track record recently. I filmed this video, I want to say back in 2021 through and looked at each book that I read for each of the months and picked my favorite out of all of them, and that was super fun. You guys really enjoyed that video, so I thought I'd bring it back. We're in August, so I don't know if it's too late to do a mid-year book freakout tag. I still do want to do one, but just in case I don't, this is kind of catching my fall, so you guys know what I've been loving, what my favorites are, all of that. So without further ado, let's just get right into today's video. If you guys want to follow along throughout the video and comment like your favorite book of each month, January, February, you know, the whole shebang, please feel free to do so. I would love to know what you guys have been loving. As you know, I'm always trying to get myself out of the situation that I'm in, which is reading bad books. Anyways, these are the ones that stood out. You guys probably have heard me talk about them, but let's get right into it. Okay, so January, we started off the year hopeful. We started the year off feeling good, and I read one of my favorite series ever, the newest release at that time, and that was The Lone Wolf's Rejected Mate by Kate C. Wells. You guys know I love this werewolf shifter romance series. Kate C. Wells has become one of my favorite authors. She's amazing, and I believe The Lone Wolf's Rejected Mate is actually book number 3 maybe in her series. I will confirm that in just a second. But these all follow wolves, werewolves, and their mates reject them, sometimes publicly, sometimes there's assholes, sometimes it's for a good reason, but their mate, typically the guy, he rejects the woman, and for whatever the case may be, there's groveling involved, sometimes there's not groveling involved, but all in all, it is just so good, and I eat them up every single time. Many of you guys have told me that you went back and read some of them and you also love them as much as me, which is so exciting. But please do if you have not already. I don't like witches, I don't like vampires, I don't like bear shifters, I like werewolves, like I just do, and that's why this series is gonna clear each and every time. So specifically, The Lone Wolf's Rejected Mate is about, I really love this one. I think I rated this one 5 stars, and it might be my favorite in the series. We have a really girly girl heroine. She loves pink and she loves the frills, and she's a hopeless romantic. She loves love, and she's also one of the lowest ranked in one of the lowest ranking groups of her pack. She doesn't really have family, she doesn't really have anyone, and when you're in that position as a woman within this specific pack, you are kind of the lowest on the totem pole. But in a previous book, the system kind of was fixed and changed, and so now she just has some really good girlfriends, and they all live in a house together in the woods, a part of the pack, whatever. Then we have the hero, who is a lone wolf. He is a part of the pack as a very, very dangerous wolf that just like freaks out when he shifts, and he kills, and he's dangerous, and he has no control of his wolf, which just typically is not the case. So he lives kind of like off site a little bit, just to protect himself and protect the rest of the pack members. And so when these two find out that they are mate, she's super excited. She's like, okay. He's the exact opposite. He does not care, but he's like really rugged and gruff, and he lives alone and kind of in a cave, and like she's like, okay, this wasn't exactly who I thought would be my mate, but what am I gonna do? I'm happy I have a mate. Like, what can we do? What can I do about it? So basically, right when you find out who your mate is, the woman goes through this thing called heat, and the guys go through something called rut or something. Like if they do not consummate and get together, then the guy will start, you know, freaking out, whatever. He helps her out with her heat situation, and then he's like, all right, see you later. She was building up fantasies in her mind. She was very excited to have her mate, and he never like communicates that like it's not safe for him to be with her. He's just kind of like, bye. And she completely changes. It kind of has a little tiny bit of a time jump, because you see her go through a complete, no more living in La La Land, no more, you know, this, that, and the third. I am going to be very serious about my life, and kind of like just, I don't need him. They get together again, and it's so good, and she even starts to date other people, so the jealousy was great as well. Something happens where she gets kind of kidnapped. Don't want to spoil too much, but it is just so good. The best groveling that I've seen, and and when you find out like why he rejected her, it just makes you love him so much more. I really enjoyed this one, and this was definitely the best book that I read in January. February was, I want to say February was a pretty good reading month for me. I read a bunch of new releases. I enjoyed my time with it. I would say my favorite book of February was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This was so good. I loved it so much. It takes place in a small town in Napa, wine country. There's vineyards everywhere, and it's just a really cute Tessa Bailey styled book, which I just really enjoyed. We have our heroine Hallie, and she has had a crush on the hero Julian for years. They went to the same high school together, even I want to say kissed at a party, but then after that some things went down. He went away to college and kind of forgot about her. She has remained in the small town, and she's actually a like landscaper. She does people's yards and backyards and makes it look really pretty. She's obsessed with flowers. When Julian moves back into town to work on himself, work on his writing, he wants to become a writer. He was a professor. He wants to take a break from that, staying at his whole old childhood home. His mom actually hires Hallie to tend to their garden. She is like, oh my gosh, Julian's back. She has this big fat crush on him. She decides to start leaving letters. They're also talking whenever she's there, like, you know, working on the gardens and stuff. But he does not remember Hallie at all. Like, he cannot remember her. He cannot remember her, but he does feel like a draw and a connection towards her. While they're kind of like exploring things faintly, he's also just really the exact opposite. She's a very sunshiny character, and he's very buttoned up and very serious. So that was super fun to see her softened him a bit, and it was all just like chaotic and fun and so good. He helps her out with certain things around this small town, and it's just a great time. Hot because obviously it's Tessa Bailey. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend this series. I loved Secretly Yours, which I just read in June. This was definitely the best book that I read in February. If you haven't read this series, what are you doing? The In a Vine Mess series. It is so fun and so cute. Then my favorite book in March, which I'm pretty sure this is going to be on everybody's favorites list towards the end of the year, was The Right Move by Liz Tomford. I love Liz Tomford. I had only read Mile High and The Right Move so far. I definitely want to pick up. I have no idea if this is like her debut series or if she's written other things, but I definitely need to go and like look into it. But The Right Move, you're joking. Like, this series is so amazing, but this book specifically had me in a chokehold. First romances, the first one was hockey, but the second one, basketball. And he is a famous professional basketball player. He's like, I feel like Michael Jordan level famous. The heroine is actually his twin sister's best friend, who we saw meet in book one. In The Right Move, she is going through a breakup, the heroine. She's going through a breakup. Her boyfriend, she moved to Chicago to be with her boyfriend, and she found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her. She has nowhere to go, nowhere to stay, because like I said, she moved to Chicago for him. Her best friend Stevie, who is the heroine in book one, she's like, no, you are not leaving Chicago. Why don't you go live with my brother? I moved out of there. He lives in this huge penthouse. He's never home, always traveling for away games. Let me talk to him, but I'm pretty sure you can stay there. Right away, he's like, no. He, like I told you guys, he is very famous, so he needs his privacy. He needs, you know, his own comfort. He does not like anybody in his space. He's like, immediately no. His sister, his twin sister, who he loves very dearly, convinces him to change his mind. He agrees, and so in comes Indy, the heroine, and now she's living with this famous basketball player. These two do not get off on the right foot, as she's very messy, she's very loud, she's very chaotic, and he is the exact opposite. And so she leaves mess around the apartment. Is not happy about that, because like I said, he likes his space organized and clean and tidy and to himself. He's kind of a little bit of an asshole to her, but they start becoming friends, and it is phenomenal. Does little things like buying her a new bed. He will like wait if he's up before her. He knows that she has iced coffee, and she hates putting like ice in her coffee because it'll water it down. So when he gets up, he makes a pot, puts it in the fridge for her. Just sweet things like that. They become friends, and then they decide to fake date. He needs a fake girlfriend because he is trying to have like a higher up position on the team, and he needs to prove that basketball is not the only thing that he has going for him in his life. And she needs a boyfriend because she is going to one of her friends' wedding. She is she's a bridesmaid. Ex-boyfriend will be there, also in the groom's party. So she's like, I need a boyfriend to show I do not care about you. I've moved on. These two decide to start fake dating. They make up different like kind of rules or like goals for themselves to achieve. Like, she is very dependent, and that's one of the goals that he has for her, to be more independent. Like, just cute things like that. This book really pulled on my heartstrings. It was hot. It was so much fun. The smut was The smut was great, and really just the story itself was amazing. Like, I love Ryan Shay. Like, I think about him so much. He's definitely one of my favorite heroes ever. I'm manifesting somebody like Ryan Shay. Like, I tell you guys, Ryan Shay is who I want in my life. Okay, minus basketball. Like, I'm not really interested in dating a basketball player, but just his personality, his vibes, all of it, I need. Phenomenal. And so the hype is so well deserved for this one for sure. Then in April, my favorite book was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This for sure was my favorite book of April, and definitely this was also the only book that I read in April. If it weren't and I had read other books, this would definitely be at the top of that list. I loved this book. I buddy read it with my friend Kira. She doesn't really read as much as me, and so it's super fun that she's getting into reading more, and we decided to pick up Malibu Rising together. And you guys, favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid, probably favorite book of all time. This book broke me to a million trillion little pieces, and the hype is so well deserved with Taylor Jenkins Reid in general, but this book is my favorite by her. And I feel like if I were to die tomorrow and got nobody to read this book, I would have done something wrong in my life. So please pick up Malibu Rising if you haven't already. This is not a romance. Obviously, Taylor Jenkins Reid doesn't really write romances. They usually have my heart broken. This one was a good type of heartbreak. I mean, throughout the book, I was crying, screaming, throwing up. By the end, I felt settled and good, but still, I was just like, my heart was still a little bit broken. So if you don't know what Malibu Rising is about, it follows two timelines. We have Mick Riva, who we met in Daisy Jones, and also Evelyn Hugo. He is a big famous singer, but we see him before that when he's just starting out. See him fall in love with this girl named June. Like, I feel like I'm about to cry while talking about this. We see him meet and fall in love with June. At first, it is amazing and beautiful and stunning, and she is getting everything that she's ever wanted out of life and love. See them start to have children together, and you see the dynamics start to shift for the worse. My gosh. Dueling timeline, we have basically the 5 Riva siblings. Is it 4 or 5? I feel like it's 4. You see there are 4 Riva siblings. They're grown up now. Every summer they throw a party. Each of them kind of has their own thing. Nina is a famous model. Pretty sure Jay is a surfer. Huddy's a photographer. And then Kit is pretty young. She's like 20, so she's just kind of getting into what she wants to do with her life, whatever. Every summer, at the end of the summer, they throw a huge party at Nina's house. Famous in Hollywood. Everybody comes to this party. It's wild. There's drugs, Dane. We see basically from the start of the day at I think like 7 a.m. till the next day, you see what happens throughout the party at each hour, and all we know is by the end of the night that her house will be on fire. We have no idea how the fire started, what would happen to make it start, whatever. You see that, you see the day of the party play out, and then you also see Mick and June in the past, what their relationship was like, and how that impacts their children's lives now. Guys, this is truly like one of my favorite books of all time. Just love June. She's one of my favorite characters ever, and I don't want to spoil too much, but just know that please pick this up if you have not already. The audiobook, I think I read this book physically, but I'm sure the audiobook is amazing. I would highly recommend. Pick it up. Favorite book of April for sure. And then in May, my favorite book, no surprise to anybody if you follow me on Instagram, because when I read it, I could not stop talking about it. I was shouting about it. I was flipping my shit about it, and this is another book that I just feel like you have to read. Right Man, Right Time by Megan Quinn. This is a hockey romance, also fake dating, which is always just so much fun. I believe fake dating is my favorite trope now. Like before I would say bully or like stalker, which I do love those tropes, but like fake dating, I feel like if there's fake dating in it, I'm gonna love it and eat it up. So definitely Right Man, Right Time was my favorite in May. The book starts with her out one night with her friends, and then she sees her ex-boyfriend walk into the bar with one of her work rivals. Right away, she's like, I've moved on. I'm fine. I don't need to. And she starts kind of boasting about how great she is right now without him and how he's moved on. Her rival goes, oh really, you have a boyfriend? Where is she? Runs up to a random guy at the bar. Is like, I'm about to kiss you. You don't want me to. Stop me in like 3 seconds because I need to make somebody jealous. He doesn't stop her, and that is the hero of the book. He is a professional hockey player, and he kind of is really intrigued by her, and he's like, wait a minute, you're gonna continue to need me as a fake boyfriend, especially when all the people, all of her friends recognized him. She doesn't follow hockey. She had no idea who he was, and so now people are gonna want to know what is going on between you and your famous hockey player boyfriend. He needs a fake girlfriend because his ex-girlfriend is currently working on his hockey team's marketing team. She's gonna constantly see her at events, and he really just wants to get it through that he has moved on. Has he fully? Maybe not. He needs a fake girlfriend, and these two decide to work together. You guys, I'm gonna have to reread it before the year is out because oh my gosh, you guys, everything about this just served. Just ate. I was addicted to reading this book. I tell you guys a story every time I talk about it. I went to a concert one night night with my friend. I was up super early, hopped on a metro to get there, walked like a mile to walk to the venue, then had to turn around and do it all again. The next day was my first day at work and I started the book in bed that night. Oh, I'm just starting this new book to fall asleep to, whatever. No, I stayed up all night, all morning, and I had to work my first day of work. My friend was sleeping over. I just stayed up all night reading the book. Like, I could not put it down. I went to work the next day, my first day, read all day throughout my first day of work, came out of work, went grocery shopping. I'm bumping into people with my grocery cart, just hitting people because I'm so obsessed with this book. It was everything that I love about fake dating. It is everything that I love in romance books in general. She is one of my favorite heroines of all time. She played the game. She would try to make him jealous and try to do little things to make him give in, and then he is just so obsessed with her, and the smut was off the charts. The tension, I have never ever read tension like Right Man, Right Time. Never in my life. It was amazing. It had me at the edge of my seat. I did not want it to end. I need to go back and read the other books in the series. They don't really have any, you don't have to, but I want to see if they're as good as this one. But you guys, favorite book probably of all time, definitely making it on my favorites list. It was so great. And then June, no surprise to anybody again, let me go get it. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. You guys, the hype for this is so well deserved. Everybody knows what they're talking about when they, you know, are just boasting about it. Like, I am so happy that this book has the popularity that it has because it's so well deserved. And I'm like literally waiting with my toes crossed, my fingers crossed that November, like I turn around and November will be here because I need the next book. I think it's called Iron Flame. You guys, this book is where it's at, you guys. This book is where it's at. I have not read fantasy since A Court of Silver Flames came out back in 2021. This just like took me on a whirlwind. At first, I was not interested at all because I'm like, I really don't care about dragons. I want a dragon now. I want dragons tattooed on me now. I want to own multiple of them. I'm not gonna say anything, but if you know, you know. I don't know. I just want dragon to exist all around me because of this book. And I never thought, I'm just not that kind of girl, you know, like I'm just not, but so good. So this book follows Violet, and in this world, you basically have different quadrants. You have a scribe quadrant where basically all the like librarians and the history people work and live, and that's what they live for. You have the writer quadrant, and the writer quadrant is basically the army. They defend the kingdom and they ride dragons because the dragons also like defend the kingdom. Then you have like the healer quadrant, and they're obviously your doctors, and another quadrant that I can't remember right now. Violet's whole entire life she thought she was going to be a scribe. She's really good at that. She loves history. She's really smart. Her mom is a famous writer, and so are her two siblings, famous writers. Her dad was the only other person in her family that was a scribe, and so when it's time for Violet to pick when it's time for her to choose what quadrant she wants to go to, her mom was like, scrap that, you're not going to the scribe quadrant, you're actually going to be a writer. I don't care if you don't like it. If you want to sneak off and go to the scribes, I will drag you back, but you are going to be a writer. And she's like, oh crap, well I guess I'm a writer now. The book starts off with her going into the writer quadrant. Basically, you go to like the school, this training school. Each year you're like a year 1, year 2, year 3, and then you become a writer and you're out defending the kingdom, and you kind of have to survive. You have to make it to year 3. Survive. Like, the odds are stacked against her. She's very skinny and scrawny. She's not built to be a writer. People are trying to kill her left and right because, like I told you guys, her mom is a famous writer. Her mom actually killed a bunch of these people's parents, so people want revenge on her. One of the first things that her sister tells her before going into the writer quadrant is to stay away from this guy named Xaden. Their mom killed his father, and it's a romance between her and Xaden, and it's enemies to lovers excellent. You have a really annoying best friend of hers named Dane who's in love with her, and he's like the Tamlin of this series. She's just beating the odds left and right. I have never been more proud of a character in my life. Like, she did it. She did that shit, and it was so good, so addicting. I could not put it down, and like I told you guys, I'm just so excited for November. It was also a little bit spicy as well, which is fun, of course. And then the best dragon in the world, you guys, like, I can't talk my shit enough about this book. Like, it's amazing, and please read it. Definitely, like, I didn't even have to think about it. I was like, what month did I read Fourth Wing? Okay, that was my favorite of that month, 1000%. Probably, I never rank my books at the end of the year when I like tell you guys my favorites, but this will probably be number 1. So good, highly recommend. And in July, we're stopping off at July because it's on August, and I think I haven't even finished a book so far in August, so I can't tell you guys about August. You're just gonna have to tune into my favorites video to see if any other books made this list besides the ones that I've shared with you guys today. In July, my favorite book was Meet Your Match by Candy Steiner. Definitely the most different romance romance book that I've ever read in my entire life. It's a hockey romance. Guys, so good. Interracial couple. She is having to follow him around all day, every single day, because she works for this company and like a social media company, and they decided to do 24-hour all access to Vince, who is Tampa's newest and hottest hockey player. These two do not like each other, or she at least does not like him. She got burned in the past before by an ex-boyfriend who is a rich, like really rich golf player. Ever since then, she just genuinely has not liked these types of people. She kind of stereotypes them, whatever. They first meet at like this charity gala thing, and she kind of like says some things and generalizes him, and next thing you know, she has to work with him now all day, every day. She has to get an apartment in his building. She has to follow him around, go to his practices, go to his game days, record him constantly, make content for her company. Phenomenal, like so good. Forced proximity there, have to stay together, and I just have never read anything like it. Like, the tension between them was phenomenal, of course, but on top of that, like her trying to like let in somebody again after being hurt so badly and so viciously was just so great, especially when he realizes that he's fallen for her, you guys, and she is scared out of her mind because she's like, I will never fall in love again. Like, I have been burned, and it just feels very realistic in the way, because I know a lot of people who are just like scarred and they will not do anything, and you really see her learn how to trust again and love again. And then you have Vince, who is probably one of my favorite heroes of the year. He is so much fun, hilarious, an amazing hockey player. Really loves her, and it was just so great. I love the forced proximity elements. Like I told you guys, I've never read anything like it. Like it's so cool that she had to be with him 24/7, and you really just start to see the shift in the progression of the relationship, and it was so spoony and so much fun. So those were my favorite books of each month from January to July. And yeah, like I told you guys, tune into my favorites books of the year video coming in December to know if anything else made the cut, made my list. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what your favorite books of each month, or if that's too much for you guys, just tell me some ones that stood out for you all. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a big like and a comment down below. And if you have made it to the end of the video, leave me a calendar emoji, because we talked about each of my favorite books of each month. Love you all, and I'll talk to you guys shortly in a new video. Bye!
If I got one thing right, it was you and me.